Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm here with my buddy TJ Kosen, actually also in the Dallas-Fort Worth market where I'm at here. He's a member of our Investor Fuel Mastermind, a real estate investor. And we're going to talk about how to go from kind of being paralyzed to successful. And probably make some analogies here. Literally, TJ broke his back and was paralyzed and had to overcome all that and learned a lot of things along the way about yourself. So whether you've physically been paralyzed or just figuratively been paralyzed in decisions and growing your business, I think you're going to get a lot of value out of today's show. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, TJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. I really appreciate the invitation to come on.
Yeah, good to see you always. So it's interesting, I've said this a million times. Whenever I do my shows, we talk ahead of time and we're like, what are some topics? What are some good ideas? And I knew that you had broken your back before, and it's a great analogy. I'm sorry that happened to you, right? But I think we all. But there's a lot to learn from that. Like if you can overcome something like that, then people that lose a job or do a bad deal or whatever, you're kind of like, well, kind of boo-hoo, right? So, but I think that a lot of us, are a lot of people in this industry, especially, are paralyzed figuratively. They just can't move forward. They're stuck in a rut. They don't know how to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Yours is quite different, but I think there's some lessons learned. If you can overcome what you've done, then there's hope for those people too, I'd say.
Now, with going through that experience, it was obviously not a lot of fun, but I almost like to say that it's something I really wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but I'm really grateful to have had the experience of going through and overcoming it myself. Because how many times in someone's life do you think that you really have a transformative moment that takes you from one mindset to a different mindset? I think if you're lucky, maybe you have just several. And that was absolutely, and in my, mid-30s, I guess, I think I was 33 or 34. How many people at 34 really have a kind of mindset shifting thing? Maybe it's losing a job, maybe it's doing something different, maybe it's just, you want to lose a lot of weight or whatever it is. But it's different when my wife and I had this kind of catastrophic event that there's no option. There's no option to not get through it. You don't know what the outcome's going to be. We really didn't have an option except for just to do it. And often in life we have options. Like, do I want this job? Do I want that job? Do I want to buy this house? Do I not want to buy this house? Do I want to expand business? Am I really comfortable making as much money as I am? Do I not want to expand it? Like you and I kind of talked about that too. So yeah, absolutely wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but really grateful to have had kind of this mindset shifting experience at the age of 33, 34 that otherwise, really wouldn't have. It kind of shakes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think, first off, you were clearly at an age where you're like, I still have a whole lot of life left. Like I don't have to. I think sometimes people use age as age paralyzes. I'm like, well, I'm too old to do that, or I have too many responsibilities now, or there's a lot of things that happen. But I think one of the things that allowed you to do was just focus, right? I mean, at that point, like nothing mattered other than getting healthy again, being able to walk again, right?
Oh, 100%. It's actually, I have it on I'll show you actually right here. It's on my monitor on my desk.
Focus. There you go.
That's actually a picture I took climbing a mountain in California a long time ago. I don't think I'll ever do that again. That's too much work.
Which is how you broke your back, right? You were climbing and fell. Is that right?
I was actually rock climbing. I was actually rock climbing an indoor gym, and something malfunctioned on the way down. It was an indoor gym here in Carrollton, actually. Something malfunctioned. I've never heard of anyone having this particular thing happen to them. And I ended up free falling about 20 feet as I was belaying down. And that landed all of my weight on kind of one vertebrae, wherever your back kind of starts to bend, and just kind of smashed that and blew it up. So I
That's the
got,
place that's in the silos in downtown Carrollton.
yeah.
I've been there, but it's been a
Yeah.
long time. But I've been there before.
It's a fun little place. I'm not going to go back.
Yeah, yeah, you're kind of done. You've been there, done that, right?
Yeah, so, no, yeah. Anyway, yeah, the paramedics took me down to Parkland, and the guy that works on Tony Romo, whenever he messes up his back, I guess, put two rods and a bunch of screws in there, stabilized my spine. They told my wife I'd never walk again. They didn't. I don't think they actually told me, although I was kind of drugged up at the time, so I don't remember for sure. They told me I'd never walk again. They told me I'd probably never feel below my injury site again, and that was it. So they did the surgery, and I was in the hospital for 10 weeks, I think. Yeah, 10 weeks. I spent my first wedding anniversary in the hospital. We spent our first, I guess our second Thanksgiving and Christmas in the hospital, in first Parkland, and then they actually flew me back to San Diego because so I did all the stupid stuff you're not supposed to do the first year you get married. I moved to Dallas. I moved, cross country, expanded the real estate business kind of in Dallas, but ended up, as we'll talk about, I guess, going into construction, and then had a kind of catastrophic, life-changing accident, all with a brand new wife, all in the first year of marriage. And, a lot of people take the whole sickness and health thing as some sort of esoteric, maybe 30 years down the road, I'll get sick and get dementia and she'll have to take care of me. I was a year into marriage and literally had a wife that was there at the hospital room every night with me from the accident until we walked out of the hospital on New Year's Eve of the year. So that's it was definitely brought us closer together. And we've been dating for, I guess, 4 or 5 years before that. So it's not like we were newly in love or anything. But it definitely puts a different kind of mindset on even marriage, really.
Yeah.
It brought us that much closer together.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So on the idea of focus, like at the time, like a lot of us are scatterbrained. We're all over the place, for sure. I know I have my I have my bouts with that, right? But when you have that kind of health issue, like literally nothing else matters, right? Like you're able to just focus on that, and I presume by doing that, it's allowed you probably some clarity maybe you didn't have in other parts of your life and business and things that you did before, right? So talk about that a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were at the time we were doing real estate. We had stuff in Dallas. We didn't have anything in San Diego at the time, but we're in the hospital for 10 weeks. When you start off the whole thing, they ask you ridiculous questions you don't even know the answer to, like what are your goals? So I said something stupid. I said I want to walk out of here by New Year's this year and walk out of here, like walk out. I can't even feel my toes. And most of the folks are saying like, I mean, all right, let's give it a shot. A couple of them are saying like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. But we took that mindset and literally, so nothing in Texas mattered. Our real estate out here didn't matter. Our mortgage payment, like we didn't go delinquent, but none of that stuff mattered. The only thing that mattered was let's take this thing that we're dealing with and let's overcome it. And let's see where we're going with it. So the only thing that mattered to me for 10 weeks in the hospital was walking out of there at the end, because I don't want to pay my deductible twice, right? Walking out at the end of the year. So to do that, like it sounds kind of silly, I guess, but there's other folks that go through rehab and they're not there to get better. They're there to have someone wipe their butt and tell them that it's going to be okay. I don't know anything about their lifestyle or why they have that mindset. It's none of my business. My only mindset was I'm going to wipe my own butt and I'm going to walk out of here. And whatever it takes to do it, I'm going to do it. Or I don't want to say die trying, but that's the kind of stuff that goes through your mind. So what I really learned, I guess, and what we applied in our business after that was having a singular mindset and a singular goal really was transformative for me in terms of taking the same concept and having just one focus to want to accomplish. And it doesn't mean to the exclusion of other stuff. Like you're still doing other stuff. You can add other things on, but you got to start with a core goal and a core desire to accomplish. And that's kind of what we learned at the hospital. Like it was 3 hours a day of rehab. I had to push my doctor and get special permission to go to the gym after rehab when the gym was open to like they had all the adjustable handicap stuff, I guess, for the community to come and use. I had to get special permission from my doctor to go spend another hour and a half in the gym after that, and you wouldn't know by looking at me now, in order to try to get better. So when he literally, like, I remember, so, okay, we got out of the hospital, and in January, I'm doing like this outpatient thing. And this is where it really kind of hit me, like how much work this is. Because up until this point, it's just been a lot of work, and it's all we've been doing. I was finally able to walk, and I was walking with two canes down the hall of the hospital with a therapist next to me. And it took everything I could to walk basically like 100 feet down this little hallway. And sat down in the wheelchair because my wife's following me with the wheelchair in case I fall or something. And the therapist, I wasn't thinking about it, I'm just focused on walking. The therapist turns to Sarah and says, "Wow, did you feel that?" And I'm sitting there exhausted going, "Feel what? What did I do wrong?" And the therapist said, "Yeah, I could feel like the heat radiating off your husband as he was trying to walk down this hallway, something that we just do naturally every day." So that's just the kind of, I guess, the determination that I learned to focus on in order to apply that in different things in life. And, you know, it's in like an acute position. So like a 10-week thing in a hospital, it's easy to focus on something for 10 weeks and like do it. I mean, a lot of people don't, but it's not that hard. To really expand that and make it more of a lifestyle altering thing, I guess is kind of where the challenge gets to be more of a granular day-to-day repetitive, what were you saying, Groundhog Day or something like that. It gets to be like taking that mindset and then having realistic expectations has really been, I guess, the next struggle for me to have. And I don't know, we love it. It's fun.
I would say, you know, and I want to hear more about when I know you started your construction business. We're going to talk about that in a second and how, you know, you were focused on it, but it just turned out that that wasn't really what you wanted to do. And I think a lot of people sometimes don't focus because they're afraid of, well, what if I do what? It's like a lot of what if stuff. What if I do it and I'm not successful? Or what if I do it and I don't like it? Or what if I do it and I fail? It's like, well, then you move on to the next thing or you pivot, right? I mean, that's just kind of what has to happen. But
Yeah. What if you tag it on with that? I guess. What if you don't do it and are always wondering what could have been?
exactly.
What
Exactly.
if I didn't walk out of there and wondered, you know, maybe if I just tried a little bit harder, maybe I wouldn't be in a wheelchair until I die.
Yeah.
Um, who knows?
Yep. Yep. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you started after that, you started, you were a real estate investor, you started a construction business, you know, by most measures, you had a successful business, but you kind of hated it. Right. And
Yeah.
I think, and you just kind of had to pivot again. So maybe kind of share a little bit about that.
Yeah. No, I did all the stupid things, I guess. Started two new businesses maybe after getting married for a year. But so it kind of like I think we had three jobs going in Dallas at the time that we owned, you know, flips, and we ended up losing money on one. We ended up kind of breaking even on another, and we ended up making money on another one. But at the same time, we were in the hospital like 10 weeks, but we were basically not making much money for about 4 or 5 months because there's still recovery time going back to San Diego and then kind of getting your feet back under you. So I did one of the weirdest things ever. I was still walking with a cane. I walked out of the hospital. I hobbled out of the hospital December 31st. I was still walking with a cane until that summer, until my birthday in July, and probably even after that. So I'm kind of thinking like, well, shit, mindset wasn't right to do real estate. I don't really know why it wasn't. I think we were kind of burned out on these flips. That there was a new market in Dallas. We didn't really understand everything going in. But I was like, we need to make money. We need to make, you know, income. What are we going to do? So one of the contractors that I hired just came up and says, well, why don't you just do construction? Like, and so I told him, like, from a San Diego mindset, I'm like contractors that I know in San Diego, even I was a licensed contractor in San Diego before moving out to Texas. They all still lay tile themselves. They all paint with their crew. And I told him, like, dude, I can't pick up a box of tile. I can't even lift it. Like, I can't walk up a ladder to move shingles up there. And he just broke it down to me from a Texas mindset. Says, oh, you just pay someone else to do that. So I gave him all the excuses. I said, dude, I don't have subs. He says, well, I got extras. Just borrow them. Just manage them really well. Well, I don't know where to get the stuff from. Well, I got suppliers. Like, you know, use them. Says, well, I don't even know if I'm very good at that. They're like, is there that much work in this market? This is the question that goes through my mind. Is there even that much work in DFW to have another contractor? Like,
There's only 8 million people here, but yeah.
And he pulls out his folder. He's got a folder this thick full of hedge fund work. This dude does $300,000 to $500,000 a year for hedge funds. There's no reason why he's working for me except that we like each other. He says, are you kidding? Like, I'm not going to give you any of this work, but yeah, it's not that. Don't worry about it. I says, all right, well, what the hell? Let's give it a shot. I didn't even know that. I didn't even have the idea that I wouldn't like it. It turns out that we didn't. But inside of year one, so I think July to July, I don't know what we sold, but we built $1 million in our first year in construction, my wife and I. And I'm not talking about like gross sales. I'm talking about we actually built that much in product. Now, if you're working on a 15, 17% margin, you're not really getting rich off of that. You're getting by. And our niche was we dealt with newer investors that had less experience investing than we did generally, that bought from some of the bigger wholesalers. So we were kind of always the bearers of bad news. So maybe that's the takeaway is don't start a business that you're not passionate about. I was not passionate about being a contractor. If I wanted to do that, I probably would have stayed in California. I liked real estate, but we did it for several years exclusively. And there's issues with it, but financially, it was 100% a success. It's nothing that we couldn't do. We still do a decent amount of construction for some friends here and there. But I guess kind of a mindset shift from that was, yeah, we have this business that we're making some good money on, but we really don't like it. We really like headspace wise, I would say it's probably a bit of a failure. It was an interesting shift to transition away from that back into full-time real estate. We weren't in construction like a super long time, but 2.5 years, and then kind of the process of winding that business structure down and picking back up real estate and getting into more of a volume-based kind of mindset with real estate. So that's like, yeah, you were saying, like failure in something, even if it's not monetary failure, because we made money doing it. It's part of the experience. It's part of what you're supposed to go through.
Yeah. And by most, you were a failure in that you were doing something you didn't like to do, but business-wise, you weren't a failure. You weren't this like roaring success either. But I wanted, people that are kind of listening right now, I think one of the lessons here is like exactly what you said. Well, what if, you said like, well, what if I try it and I fail? It's like, well, what if you don't and you regret it for the rest of your life, right? So I think as entrepreneurs, we know that our businesses right now, no matter where you're at, is often a stepping stone to something else. Like I started out a different way than where I am now, right? I do more multifamily stuff now. There's stuff that I used to do that I don't do anymore. And I'm glad I did it because when I look back, it's like, well, that helped me transition into something else. It allowed me to build a relationship with this person or these people. And that opened up this other door. And I think you just have to look at all these things as it's kind of like if you were to go to college or you go somewhere else, you have different classes, you have different experiences. The culmination of all those things kind of help you find your way financially and in happiness in life. So I think doing something that you look back and say, well, I don't like to do that. I don't think most people say, even like you said, of course you wish you had never broken your back, but you appreciate that experience changed your life in a positive way, right?
Yeah, I think there's no happy ending. I mean, at the end, you're dead. So I think we're conditioned. It's true. But I think we're conditioned from childhood to think that there's a glass slipper and a happy ending and a Prince Charming and a white picket fence. And I mean, I have a white picket fence. Well, I don't think we have one right now. But I mean, there's not a happy ending. It's about the journey. It's about the process.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a luxury to be able to say doing this much real estate and not worrying as much about day-to-day financials. You still worry about big picture stuff, obviously. But if people are focused on, oh, if I could just make this number, or if I could just make, everyone's got that number. I think everyone likes the $100,000 a month number net or whatever it is because it adds up to a little over $1 million a year, and they think it sounds cool. But they don't know, like, okay, what are you going to do with $100,000 a month that you're not going to do with $90,000 a month? And if you get there, if the journey took you there, then the journey is going to take you farther than that too. And what's the next step? So I think what separates kind of an entrepreneurial mindset from the kind of maybe I want to eventually do something myself or just the W-2 mindset even is I don't think I have an end goal. We have goals. We have, 10-year goals, 5-year goals, month goal, all that stuff. We have all that, but there's not if I just made it here, then I would be such and such. I don't have a white picket fence goal. We have a push ourselves to the next goal. And so the focus is what built the construction company. It's what built being able to walk again out of the hospital. It's what's, building our real estate company and all that. But it's at this point, it really is about the journey, and it's about kind of doing something that's worthwhile and fun and exciting, an experience.
Yeah, I think that is that's a mindset shift thing that I think people struggle with. Like I came out of a W-2 job, a lot of us did. That you in that, like when you're in corporate America or you're in a job, like you think of like success is like an ending. It's like I'm going to retire in 30 years. I'm going to retire.
Yeah.
Age 65, I'm going to retire. There's this finish line, right? I think once you become an entrepreneur, I don't think about the finish line. I think more about the journey. And like, honestly, I will never retire. Like, if retirement means lay around and watch Wheel of Fortune reruns or whatever, like, that's not me. So it'll never be me. And so I love going to the beach, but I don't want to live there either. Like, I like to go and I like to do things, but everything,
I moved to Dallas from one of the nicest beaches in the country
yeah,
because I like the idea of an experience and an opportunity that I thought that Dallas had that San Diego, yeah, it has, but it's just that we got tired of it. Let's experience
right.
something new.
Yeah, yeah. So I love the idea of that. Obviously success is a journey, right? And
Mm.
you can't. It's not this finish line that you're going to hit somewhere and say, "Yes, I did it." The truth is, as entrepreneurs, and I say this all the time, we always move the damn goal line anyway. So,
Oh, yeah.
so you got to enjoy where you're at because you're never going to hit the finish line because you're going to keep moving it. So, got to enjoy that path there.
No, I definitely for myself, it's definitely a case of you always have a little bit of discontentment about wanting to push yourself to do something different, but you have to simultaneously balance that with a little satisfaction about being where you are and a little self-awareness about you have to have a lot of self-awareness really to have goals of doing something different than what you are doing. Because you got to think like at any point in our life, backtracks or sidesteps or whatever notwithstanding, you kind of are the culmination of all the choices that you've made up until this point to find who you are. So obviously, I make great choices. That's why I am where I am. So why would I want to make different choices to get me somewhere different? I mean, you see how there's kind of a inherent contradiction in that. But if you want to push yourself to do more, you have to make choices that are inherently kind of outside your comfort zone. So that's
Yep.
where you gotta screw with your own mind. I think like maybe that's where being paralyzed really is interesting. When you literally cannot move your legs, and you're sending all the pathways down there saying, okay, you guys need to move, and they don't do it. It's like, wow, that's really weird. And maybe a little piece of that mindset applied to business about like, oh well, I can't do that. I haven't done that. Well, no, of course I can do that. Let me work through the pathways to make that happen. Um, and honestly, I think that comes from focus, like we talked about. It comes from having a goal and focusing on it until you manifest it into what you want to do with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things that is when you say something you just said is like maybe I can do it. Like what if I have to try, right? If I don't try this, then clearly I can't succeed. But if I try it and I fail, well, then I learn. Like it's like
Mm.
there's this, what is this code? It's like win or learn. Like it's not really it's not a loss. You learn like how to do it differently, right? So and I think
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, come to think of it, I remember with construction, I asked the contractor guy that kind of handheld a little bit, like help me get going. I said, man, can I make 100 grand like in the next year doing this? Because that was my goal. Like I need to make a lot of money. That's not that much money, but I mean that was my mindset at the time. Like, man, I'm
Right.
freaking broke. I need to pay the bills. And he just said, oh God, yes. It just takes work. I didn't even think about whether or not I wanted to do the work. It's just, well, okay, I have the goal of I need to make money in order to support my wife and house. And well, Sarah was with it, in there with it. But I need to make money to support myself and all these bills. And pay I think we only had like, hey, health insurance is a good thing. It went up in price, but I think we walked out having to only pay about 20 grand after the whole thing. So that's not
Wow.
bad, but we still had to, I still have to cover it. Um, and I didn't even think about it. Is this even something I want to do? I just thought about, can I do it? So now we transition in our business to in real estate, focusing pretty much exclusively on real estate. Is okay, yeah, we already know that we can. Now it's a case of, well, which way do we want to go? And that's the next kind of step for us is, well, which way do we want to go in our business and in our life? Because we already have. So like I said, no white picket fence, no end goal. It's okay. Now what? And it's always the now what that's kind of the fun part, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things you said a second ago was, something around thinking about what's possible, right? And I think sometimes it's from experiences you have on your own or learning. Sometimes it's from being around the right people or being around different people, right? Or people that have that same mindset as you or have some similarities. And obviously you're a member of the Investor Fuel Mastermind. Would you mind just kind of sharing like how getting an Investor Fuel has impacted you personally or your business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think as entrepreneurs, small business owners, self-employed, whatever it is, it's all kind of kind of all on the same spectrum. It's just a different magnitude. I think you are inherently kind of an independent, stubborn, kind of arrogant ass that wants to do your own thing. And you get like that mindset's good, but it's also limiting. So joining Investor Fuel for me anyway was a way to still be myself, but also network and associate with like-minded people that are on different levels, but all kind of going a similar direction. You're not the same goals because, like we said, I think goals are fluid too. But it's super valuable to me to see people that are, maybe, I don't know, 200% better than we are, or whatever the number is, and be able to compare notes or be able to help people. And I think I won the biggest humor award on the last one. That was cool. But be able to help people like, hey, I have a question about this in this little minuscule part of my business that could change things in a big way. It's really fun to be able to compare notes and say, well, here's what's working for us. It has some success. I think it's a good idea. Think about it. It's not about doing it. It's not about walking someone else's path, but it's about having shared paths that all kind of go a similar direction that you can just have kind of a synergy and a mindset shift with. One thing I really do like about Investor Fuel, obviously, is since you have members all around the country, there's really, really very little feeling of competition about, oh, I have one little niche. I just want to keep this to myself. You don't necessarily say, hey, call this exact list and you'll get this exact result. But since it is nationwide, you can say, hey, this is working in Dallas, try it in Houston, try it in San Diego. Some of the people in California kind of make me wonder, well, maybe I should have stayed by the beach because they're killing it out there. And we did some good flips in the bottom of the market, made some good money, but we just kind of got tired of like just living out there, as funny as that seems. So it's really inspiring to see other people on the same journey, to share ideas, and maybe a little bit of it's a little inspiring to help some folks like tweak their business a little bit here and there too. So I think it's an amazing community that you've built.
Awesome. I appreciate you being a part of it, my friend. So.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
TJ, if folks wanna, I know you put a lot of content out on social media and you do a lot of other things. If folks want to connect with you and maybe learn more about what's going on, or even do deals together, anything like that in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, how do they connect with you?
I guess I definitely like hearing myself talk, don't I?
You're good.
I'm super active on Facebook, super active on Instagram. We've actually gotten deals organically from Instagram from just posting. It's kind of crazy. So feel free to reach out and contact me, TJ Kosen, on Facebook or Instagram. We have a little group that's kind of Dallas based. It's mostly me posting stuff that we're doing. Our group is Platinum Real Estate Uncensored on Facebook. So join the group. We're always welcome. Yeah, I don't know. I think we have about almost 4,000 members. So it's not massive. We're not trying to blow it up to have just to answer everyone's stupid question about what is wholesaling. But we kind of, we post deals that we're doing. We talk about what we're doing. Super approachable. For newer investors, we do have people reach out and say, hey, how do I get into, or how do I analyze this problem, or how do I address this issue? Always happy to hit up some DMs and talk to people about that. Pretty chill. So yeah, pretty laid back. I got that kind of San Diego mindset out here, I guess.
You brought the better parts of California to Texas. I shouldn't have said that on recording, but
I'm gonna say the beaches out here are a little, but we brought the right mindset.
Yeah. So TJ, hey, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your story. I know it's not a lot of people have been through an experience like that, right? And I think hopefully some folks have learned from your experience. I know you have, and I think a lot of people have, probably been, like I said up front, kind of paralyzed figuratively more than literally on things. Just like, I don't know, it seems risky. I don't know if I can be successful or those things. And you just gotta find a way to break through that for sure.
It's definitely a mindset thing. I guess there's a lot of talk about changing stuff in the world. I like to say, if you want to change the world, change your mindset and change yourself first, because the only real impact that we have is how people remember us after it's all done. So make an impact by changing yourself first, and just focus on what you want to do. Give it a shot.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. Hope you got some great value out of this episode, and TJ sharing his story. If you're stuck, man, you just got to move forward. So appreciate you for joining us. If you haven't yet subscribed to us, you can get access to all of our shows on investorfuel.com or, of course, flipner.com. And, of course, you can subscribe on YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, anywhere where you're watching or listening right now, you can find us. So appreciate you a bunch. See you on the next show. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.